It's not.
Go to sleep.
They're all asleep.
This is for us anyway, we don't
Third,
care.
you've been on for 38 minutes now.
Oh, we got a lot of,
Oh,
we
we're
got
good.
tape up. I was hurrying up and we got all kinds of tape.
And I'm not even, and I'm all through it practically.
You're what?
No,
That's
you're
about
not.
all I can remember.
What happens, right, Lynn? One of us will say something and you'll remember. Let's see, what can I get him remembering? Did you go out to the river with us on the fishing trip?
Me?
Yeah,
Up height?
yeah,
Did you?
I remember that one.
yeah. Height out to the Colorado River?
No, not me. He was probably in the military.
Yeah, he probably deserted by. Hey, that's what we'll do now. We'll send him off the military and we'll just have fun. I caught a great big huge carp, and I drug it up and down the riverbank, showing that off for I don't know how long. I'll never forget that. That was a big fish. The only place to fish in those days was the San Juan River or the Colorado River. We didn't have any of the ponds and stuff that there is at Blanding now, but that's where we did. Lots of times went down to Bluff and went fishing. It was a lot of fun, playing with the fish and stuff. And then if we get to Bluff, then we go to Watermelons.
Mm-hmm. You
And,
remember that, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Church activities. They'd throw us in the back of a pickup or a Joe Hunt stock truck or something and take us all down there, and we'd go to out to the pond and swim, and then we'd go and eat watermelons and go up on top of Cow Canyon and put the melon rinds down on the ground and put it back the truck or whatever on them and spin the wheels on the watermelon rinds. And that's where I learned to swim. And this one time I thought I was going to be really brave and swim out to the rock. And Ted was out there sitting on the rock. And I was swimming out to the rock, and I figured, I'm not going to make this. But I finally did. And Ted was sitting up there watching me. And the thing that I'll never forget, I looked at Ted and I thought, he's got so much hair. I can't believe it, and I'll never forget that.
I had hair?
And you're about to drown and you're looking at his hair.
Yeah, no, but I remember that so well. The first time I swam out to that rock, and didn't know if I was gonna. I hadn't been swimming very long. Didn't know if I was gonna make it or not, but I swam out there.
You remember Uncle Earl shocking us when we try to get back on the truck? You don't?
No.
Oh.
I remember that.
He had a coil hooked up,
Remember
huh?
that?
No, I don't remember that. He must have been kind to me. I do remember getting on the pickup or truck, whatever it was, with a bunch of guys going back to Blanding, and they started telling jokes, and I was laughing, and I'd eaten so much watermelon it hurt to laugh, but I couldn't not laugh, and I was miserable. Here you go, Ed.
Okay, do you remember where we went on the 24th of July?
Oh boy, I do.
Do you, Bevan? Ted?
Don't you?
Yeah,
Out to
several
the road.
times.
Up to the Grove.
Yep.
They'd throw us in the back of a cattle truck and we'd stand up all the way. All the kids stand up in the back of the truck and up we'd go to the Grove for the 24th of July.
You're squealing again.
Is it squealing? Can you hear me okay, sis?
Uh-huh.
Okay. But we used to, I remember that so
Races
vividly. Oh yeah.
Picnic.
That was a lot of fun.
Well,
On the 4th of July, homemade root beer, I never remember paying anything
Yeah, you paid.
for that homemade root beer.
Hey,
Paying, whether I paid a dime or a nickel, or,
we always made our own.
well, there's always big tubs of, just
Okay.
relax a minute.
I was going to tell you about it.
Okay.
My feelings are hurt. I'm not talking anymore.
But I remember all of the games on the 4th of July, and all the tubs of watermelon.
she
And-
always won. Foot races,
Yeah.
weren't they? Always won the
What'd
foot
you say?
race.
You don't need to
always won
talk
the
anymore.
foot
You've already
races.
done yours,
Yeah, but
remember?
let me
I told you to get you going again.
Tell it.
What?
We went up to the Grove, I think I was about 10. And I always won the races with the girls, in their age group. And this one time, they got us all lined up and says, now the winner of this is gonna get a very special prize. And they always gave all-day suckers to everyone that was in the race anyway. The winner is special. I won the race and I could hardly wait for this special prize. It was a balloon, and I didn't even get an all-day sucker. I still remember the feeling. I was so disappointed.
Well, I don't know why, because I remember when balloons first hit town, that was a novelty. You know,
Well, I liked,
they were so hard to blow up, those old balloons. Well, I'll tell you, you really got some good lungs by then. I do remember a 4th of July. Dad gave us a quarter.
50 cents.
you got a quarter too?
I got 50 cents.
Oh, well, you were older. But I don't know if it was a quarter he gave, or he bought us all cap guns and caps. And I thought I was in 7th heaven. I was just, oh. I mean, Dad, he must have had a gold mine someplace to have done that. And let me just give some of my thoughts.
I want you to.
And, because I'm so much younger, you guys don't remember this. Remember when Dad had the lathe and worked in Uncle Lawrence's shop? I'd go clean the lathe,
You would?
yeah, and Dad'd give me a dime. And I'd take the dime and I'd go to the movie, I'd get in the movie and I'd buy one of those, Sugar Daddy.
Oh, yeah?
Sugar Daddy and popcorn and drink.
And go to the movie.
And go to the movie.
Yep.
Okay?
You remember Dad on the stilts for the
Oh,
parade?
yeah,
24th, that was the 4th of July parade.
yeah. Now, I'm gonna move ahead just a little bit to when I was 8 years old. Remember the trip to California? You don't, because you didn't go. Where were you, Bevan? You didn't go to California with us, did you?
When
In
we
the back
went
of the
for
pickup
Yeah.
and all that heat and stopping at the river and swinging out our sweatshirts and putting
You
them on
were-
soaking wet, trying
you
to
were there.
keep cool. No, I don't remember a bit of that. Uncle Lawrence's,
You stayed and took the weather.
yeah, Uncle Lawrence's pickup.
I remember we went down to get Ted, or
Yeah.
went for the wedding or whatever
No,
it was.
when he got out of the Navy.
When he got out of it.
When you got out of the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of things I remember. Where was it? It was that home,
Serviceman's home.
serviceman's home. I got locked in the bedroom. Do you remember that?
No.
I got locked in a room, bedroom or someplace up on the 2nd floor, I think it was, and I could not get out. I cried and I hollered, and finally Ted came to my rescue and got me out. I think I had the key or something, and I don't know what happened anyway. But anyway,
Boy,
then I remember out at your place, out at the farm, when you guys were out there, I remember Ted and Glenna. I was looking through a window, and here's Ted and Glenna laying down on a bed, and Glenna's stroking Ted's hair, taking real good care of me. I remember that.
Boy, on a bed.
X-rated.
R-rated.
edit that out, we don't want to press this thing again.
On the farm, down on the farm.
That's before we're married.
I know.
Yes, that was before we married.
Don't tell Al. God, Chappie downstairs with her boyfriend.
On the 4th of July, the way I remember it is Dad gave us some money, and that's what we bought with our money, was we all bought cap guns, but I'm not sure. All I know is that 25 cents you could have a awfully fine 4th of July. And I remember the root beer. You remember the root beer blowing up, and you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember somebody used to put it in their oven and turn the oven on.
Not me. Anyway,
Turn the oven on.
Yeah.
You
Blow
don't
the
turn
lid
that
right
oven
off.
on, it was just a fire, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, at Ted's.
There was a pilot light, and I turned it on low.
And it didn't make it through the night. Didn't you have to replace that stove?
Yes.
No, it just,
Well, at least the racks.
and talking about your 25 cents, Doug Galbraith had a punch board for candy bars.
I remember that.
I got a basket one time, he brought out this big box of candy bars, and I could have 5 candy bars. I was in heaven and sick.
No wonder you
And then there was the time that I bought a whole bunch of, I love bananas. And I had some money from Hoeing Weeds or something. Anyway, I went down to Galveston and bought me a whole bunch of bananas and got extremely sick and for a long time didn't like bananas. And then there's a time I went up to Aunt Mabel's and went down in her food cellar and ate most of a bottle of just plain mincemeat.
Oh!
And I didn't eat mincemeat again for a while. And then we would go into the ice house at Aunt Mabel's. You remember her ice house?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
I
They had
never
a-
cut the ice.
They go out and cut the ice off the reservoirs and then put it in sawdust
It's echoing.
and it would
No,
it would last all summer long, and that's where we get our ice from.
Well, I can tell you about the ice, because I went with Uncle Phil out to the reservoir, and the kids, and they had the sled, and they cut big chunks of ice out, put it on the sled, and took it, and then put it in the ice house. So that's where they got their ice. They just cut it, and it was thick, you know. But let me tell you about candy bars. One time, I thought I was in heaven. Went down to Doug Galbraith's place, and they had a sale on candy bars. So for a nickel, you got a Milky Way and a Butterfinger for a penny. So for 6 cents, you got 2 candy bars. You got a Milky Way and a Butterfinger. I thought, man, what a deal that was.
Do you remember the cookie display in Doug's store?
Uh-huh.
No.
No covers?
No cover, and we'd go in there and his dog would be eating
Oh,
cookies out of there.
I'll remember that.
Oh, you're calling me his dog?
Huh?
You're saying I'm his dog?
No.
Because I used to eat them out of there too. I think every kid in Blandon snakes cookies out of that. Cookies.
Before I forget,
I just remember the
Before I
dog.
forget.
I went in there once, he's eating cookies.
Oh, my.
This could be edited, okay, for the grandkids.
Well, just go bleep.
I was Doug Galbraith, this Doug Galbraith thing was, but anyway, I discovered credit at Doug Galbraith's store. And so I went to Doug, and I charged a lot of stuff, and I did pretty good until the bill came. Dad didn't think it was funny at all.
Remember when we had to go take a note from Mother or anyone that went in the store, give it to him, he was behind the counter, he would go and pick up our stuff and bring it back. You know how we do it now? You can't even find anyone to ask where things are.
well, I couldn't tell you never.
Didn't say charge it.
See, that's what happens when you get old, you lose these things.
You run out of film.
You remember when you and I got stuck on the roof?
Oh, yeah. Tell us about it. Well, you know what?
Dad put the ladder up against the house, and do you remember this?
Yes, and remind me, because I got something to tell
Okay.
you. Go ahead.
He put the ladder up there, he's gonna work on the roof, and he says, I don't want you kids on that ladder. And he went walking up to the store to get something, and Ted and I were in our pajamas. So we did just what he said, we got on the ladder, but we got on the roof. All of a sudden, we saw Dad coming back down the hill, and before we could get to the ladder, Dad calmly came over, took the ladder, put it up, never said a word, and we were stuck on that roof. It seemed like for hours. And Mother got worried about us, and there was a bed where I think you slept,
It is.
and
I
she
slept outside too.
had it up against the house and told us to jump off. She might have gotten in trouble over that. I don't know.
She probably did.
Dad put me up on the roof of the shop, the weather bureau building. window
Chicken
building.
coop?
Huh?
The chicken coop?
No,
The other shop.
on top of the weather bureau building.
It's gonna be
And
fun to have.
he was building a chimney up there.
What?
Chimney
Oh,
on top of the, and he was throwing bricks up to me. And I was scared to death, but I was more scared of him than I was of bricks. And I wanted he'd throw the bricks up and they'd be right there in the air, you know, and I'd reach out and grab it and put it down, you know, but I was so scared. I just shaking practically. I was so scared, and he's throwing bricks at me. So I remember that about the building really well. Then I remember on the other building, we went down to the brick yard down south of town and got adobe brick, the unfired brick, and that's what we lined that chicken coop with those adobe bricks all around there. Somebody?
And you lived in it?
Are we what?
You lived in the chicken coop?
No. No, the chickens did.
Oh.
We had a lot of chickens.
Speaking of the chicken coop,
He's squeezing
we
again.
used to get on the chicken coop, and that was a no-no. You didn't get on the chicken coop. Dad would be out of town driving the truck or wherever, he'd be gone. And we'd get up on the chicken coop, and we could see the road coming into town up by Harvey's, up by this cemetery. And when there was a funeral, we used to get on there and we'd count the cars going up to the cemetery. And then we'd watch, we'd get up there and we'd watch, and when we'd see Dad see the car or the truck coming into town, then we'd know it's time to scoot off the chicken coop, because if we didn't, we knew we were in big trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Before I forget,
Good thing the roof didn't give in.
They had a small problem with that chicken coop thing. Dad and I were out rabbit hunting up north of town, up towards the mountain one day, and we heard this car honking. And so Dad figured out somebody's looking for us. So we went back up to the vehicle, and somebody came to tell us that Willard had fallen off of, I believe, the chicken coop. Is that right? And broken arm.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. So, you see, they had much fun on the chicken coop.
Yeah.
here you go, man. I wanted to get that in while I was thinking about it.
Well, according to Willard, I don't remember if it was Willard or Otis. Who broke their arm again? Was it Willard?
I think he did it twice, I'm
Otis
pretty sure
broke
it
his
was.
arm once too, but I don't know if it was.
I think Mother accused Willard and I of pushing Otis off
That would figure.
Uncle Edson's barn.
Yeah.
We were playing down there, and was it Otis that fell? Otis fell, broke his arm. Mother accused Willard and I of pushing him off.
Yeah.
He would never have done that.
But that's only because Willard told him we did.
What about the canal, about drowning, who almost drowned?
Oh,
All of us probably.
we had a pole at the bottom of a fence that went across the canal and down to Uncle Edson's place, down to the flour mill and stuff. And what we'd do is we'd get on this pole, and it was hooked to the bottom of the barbed wire fence, and the wire fence, and we'd get on that pole and we'd walk across that pole hanging onto the wire, and that was a shortcut to go down to the flour mill. And one day I was coming back across the canal, and I looked up a little ways, and here's this little blonde head bobbing up and down and it was Otis, and he was trying to follow us over there, and he had fallen in the canal. So I pulled him out, and I was the hero for the whole day, because I'd saved Otis' life. But the flour mill was just kid's paradise. I mean, there was four or five floors of
What was?
the flour mill.
Oh, yeah.
And there were several floors, and you go up and you could run up, down, and watch the shakers that were shaking the flour and the huge bin of wheat, and watch them sew the sacks up as it come out of the thing and sew up they were really good sewing those sacks of grain up. So it was
I can't believe Uncle
it
Edson
was a
let us
fun
do that.
I know, but he did.
Let me tell you
We'd
about.
shoot wheat.
Uh-huh, see, I told you you'd have one.
Well, yeah, you talked about the flour mill. They had big belts that was running things. And if you put your fingers on that belt and leave it for a few minutes, it would build up some static electricity. You could take that and touch somebody's ear and it would pop and shoot a little electricity over it.
I didn't know that one.
Well,
I missed out.
I don't remember who was, I think, I'm quite sure it was you, Ted, that you carried one of your brothers home after they fell out of a tree. That was Bevan.
Guilty,
Bevan-
that was him.
Bevan
That
fell out of a
hero.
tree,
You were the carryee.
and Bevan,
I was the
Ted,
carryee.
Ted carried Bevan home after Bevan fell out of a tree.
You remember
I
that?
remember that.
I don't remember that. I remember carrying you from the mill, from the flour mill, home on my shoulders. And I remember another time, we took a bike ride up towards, we took a bike ride up and you were on the seat, or on the handlebars, I guess. And I was going up towards Recapture Canyon, or up, yeah, Recapture, and you got your foot caught in the spokes of the bike, you remember that? And so I can't remember how I got you home.
I don't remember.
Yeah, but I remember you got spokes caught.
No, your foot
Now, I was out in the hills there, I did a lot of traveling out east of the house. And I was traveling out there and there were several of us, and I went up in a tree and I fell, and I've still got a soft spot in my leg. It was a old broken limb went up in my leg and made a big hole in my leg, and that's when somebody went and got Ted, and he come back and hauled me down to the foot of the hill there where Grandma's house was. I don't think she was there, and then Dad came down there and rescued me, but yeah.